vortex machine spinning. But as later we begin talking about tornadoes, we're going to see that the nature of these vortex devices is literally able to cohere the vacuum and create a source for voltage from gravity. And how that works in physics is actually tunable and able to be optimized by such devices that take a spectrum analysis of charge and measure for coherence. So here is an image, this is actually from the cymatics literature, on visualizing the ether or zero point or background energy and what it would take to cohere that. It's like you've got this unified field, right? Physics says there's 4 fundamental forces, but now we know that they're all made of the same substance. Okay, they're just at different frequencies and wavelengths and wavelength ratios. And so once you get that unified field, the religion of Jesus and Einstein understood, then you have the appropriate challenge of understanding the role of mind among waves. The role of mind among waves is to make that still point where waves can converge non-destructively. And that's called collapse in physics, and it appears to be identical with the very nature of compassion. So this is what we're talking about making your dent in the world, that if you want to have a wave stand, then you have to create that wave in such a way that it's in phase and the symmetry can nest on a folded surface. Essentially, all immune systems, all soap bubbles, all cell membranes are a folded surface. And to make the wave stand non-destructively on that surface, you have to make your dent in the world, right? For the wave to stand, it has to be in phase. In biophysics, it's called structural stability and morphogenesis. It's the title of a book. It means that all cell membranes exist because the waves which stand on their surface are musical, literally in phase. So measuring that coherence of standing waves is the ability to make matter out of light. That if you have that compressible media and you get a wave standing, then that's called matter. The way it works is, in physics, if a wave goes in a line, you call that wave energy. If the same wave were to begin going in a circle, the wavelength divides evenly into the circumference. That's called quantum mechanics. When the wave goes in a circle, that same wave is called mass. Do you know why? It's because when the wave goes in a circle, it stores a little bit of inertia. And in physics, we measure how much inertia is there, and that's the only definition or measurement any physicist has ever had for mass or matter. So literally, God is the feller who taught the wave to go in a circle. Got it? It's that simple. The issue of creation is the ability to move the wave into a circle from a line. When the wave goes in the circle and it then makes the L or phase shift from the circle back to the line, that's called the raising of the Jedi Knight, or the Shem-On, the Highward Firestone, or literally the sword and the stone. And that L or phase shift is the origin of the word Elohim, those who were able to make the L or phase shift. And it's as simple as this. If your habit had been to attend to the wave node, which we're calling matter, the waves converge, make a little pressure bubble, go away, and then the pressure and rarefaction happens in the same place every time, just like this picture. The resistance to change of position of that place, that inertia, is called matter. Well, if your habit has been to attend to the wave node, the place where there's compression and rarefaction in the same place, then you're stuck on the cross. Do you see? So if you want to get off your cross, follow me, right? And what you do is you lift your attention from the wave node to the wave itself. But that L or phase shift is a translation of vorticity, a movement of inertia from the circle back to the line. And the spin path which idealizes that, obviously, is the golden mean ratio. It's called optimized translation of vorticity in hydrodynamics. But now have we explained the Sufi koan, which says, only love bends the light, so only love creates. Yeah? You see that if you, in fact, create long wave phi ratio, low phi, love, you make that 0.618, which creates that implosion, that centering force, the suction to the center, which bends the light from the line into the circle. You see? Only love bends the light, therefore only love creates. So this is a little introduction So that this geometry of these three-dimensional standing waves makes these wave packets, and things come to a head because the ratio of the waves, when it's golden mean ratio, permits adding and multiplying, and we're going to see more pictures of that.
Here are the primary colors are the calibration of the tilt of the photon donut.
So that when waves converge, what happens is they always form a toroidal or donut-shaped magnetic field because, in fact, that is the only self-organizing waveform. There's X and Y and Z axes of spin on the surface of a folded donut, yes? And that X, Y, and Z axis spin superposed means you have three gyroscopes which are perpendicular, and that's called inertial navigation systems at NASA, right? In other words, you can't be pushed around. So when you store inertia in three axes of spin, you in fact create vorticity. And when you connect up those tornadoes, that's called string theory or wormholes. And we're going to talk about how mind can steer tornadoes. And we see that all of physics is made of those compression waves of tornadoes. So this is a three-dimensional model of a compression wave on a folded surface. In this case, it was intended to describe the perpendicular axes of the perpendicular field effects of the, let's call them the perpendicular equators of the galaxy, the solar system, and the Earth. And their relative tilt angle nutates toward 90 degrees. It's called the erection of the Holy Cross in the work by Nick Fiorenza. And so if you see that compression wave converging on the sun, you see why the sun does a solar maxima, an orgasm, the Christians call rapture, which is simply a response to the need to compress, by which we're going to see more about how then stars and planets experience those gravity relations erotically. And so that survival of compression is in fact the test, the appropriate test for immortality. We'll talk more about that. On the bottom right, we see that three axes of spin superposed is three dimensions. So dimensions itself is a name for the number of axes of spin you superpose. So by nesting these vortex donuts, we get the Platonic solids and the atomic table. So every time we're talking about one of the Platonic solids or an atom in the atomic table, we're only talking about tornadoes that have learned to stand on their head in such a way that they can agree with each other. And that's called symmetry. So then we have some three-dimensional models of how the Platonic nesting of donuts makes the atomic table quite literally. And then we have the pictures of how the cube nests in the dodecahedron. Most of you have seen this before. That if I took that blue cube, which is tilted 32 degrees from you, from the screen, and I tilt it, I see that there's 5 cubes in that dodecahedron. So that's the way in which the solution to the tesseract, the hypercube, the next dimension, is literally the relationship of the cube and the dodecahedron. So if I take that 5 cubes inside with 7 cubes outside on the top left, I see that I'm beginning to have a little cookbook. I got 6 cubes around 1, 7 cubes outside, and then 5 cubes inside. And that's going to become a symmetry operation for creating the anu, the tourbillon, the scrollwork made of light, by which we get hydrogen. It's a geometry of a slipknot. Slipknot cosmic donut maker. So this nesting in the Platonic solids is called the geometry of connectivity here. I'll just play this in a little higher resolution now. You see that this is what's modeled in this Star Mother kit, which is available here. You can talk to Victoria and order these. I've got in the center 2 red tetrahedrons. I just landed 2 red tetrahedron in there. And I put an octahedron in the center, a cube around the outside. Stellate the cube. The cube's edge is square root of 2. Well, cube's edge is 1. The tetra is the square root of 2. The dodeca edge is 0.618. And the ecosa edge is 1.618. And if I spin that, it kind of leaps into 3D. So all I'm doing is showing